Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Hello, it's Dr. Gemma, and this is episode 192 of Cognitive. Where does the time go? You know, we've done almost 400 episodes of this trip together. Now, those of you who've been listening a long time, wow, thank you. I think the only podcast I know of that's done more would be the Knitmore Girls. They've done quite a lot more, but at any rate, hey, okay. So, having said that, your comments are very welcome. You can comment on the blog. That is cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com. Or you can comment on our group on Ravelry. That would be Cognitive with a K before the NIT. And in the warm thanks department, well, first of all, thank you for the 11 of you who have signed up for CFRX. Whew, that's a relief. That's almost half the cost of the meeting room, but we'll make it work. We really will, because that's how these things work. It's one of these, if you build it, they will come scenarios. Trust me, if you ever decide to do a meeting like this or a gathering like this, you just have to have a lot of faith, but it always somehow works out. I also wanted to thank, speaking of things working out, our own Strike Pike, who is alias Paleofish Designs, because she messaged me and said she's sending us another free pattern this year and some goodies. Thank you. So this is very exciting. I was amused and thrilled by Viva Scrapper's comment on the Cognitive group on the information thread, where she said, "It's getting very real over here. Tell me about it." I'm really excited about it. I'm very, very happy we're going to do this again. There's always such a mix of feelings when I do this. You never quite know how it's going to work out, but magically it does, as I keep saying. So underneath the warm thanks department in our show notes, you will see the first mention of the Cognitive Fiber Retreat 10 in red, and you will see all info is right here, and there's a lovely link. It will take you to our info thread on Ravelry. And in post number 1 there, you will see all the information that I have so far that is collected. You should feel free to correct me. One of the things you should always feel free to do, by the way, I try to be really fast in noting and posting and logging in various places when you sign up and when you pay me. So if you see something going wrong there, you should really message me, because I want to get that right. I really don't want the people who come to CFR to worry about their money being lost or them not getting on the list. This is a good moment to remind you that this costs $30 per adult attendee, and you can PayPal that to Gemma DW, as in Gemma Dogwalk, at yahoo.com. This is not refundable. I say that as a caveat because if we reach numbers, parts of it will be probably refunded, I think, is what I'm looking at. Because I think if we get 50 people, $30 is a little too high. So we just have to see how that works out. And I've already talked about that. I don't want to bore you. Meanwhile, we are in July. So if you have ever attended a CFR since 2009, you are an automatic admit. We will never shut you out. So sign up, please. And you have this month, that is our previous attendees sign up. Next month, if you are new, starting August 1st, we take the new people for their sign-ups. Meanwhile, I still am carrying the link from the hotel where you can book the room at the hotel at the group rate. And so there's a link there, and this is all theirs. It's from the hotel between that point and the next header that says group projects. All of that is a direct quote from the hotel. I say this because they say the event starts Friday the 27th and ends Sunday the 29th. That's not really true, kids. We've only rented the conference room for our vendors for one day. Last year when I found out, that conference room just about fit. It worked out nicely. I was afraid it was going to be a little too small. We had much bigger spaces out in Tehachapi, but that's the way it is. So there you go. And so that whole blurb is from them. There's 2 links that take you to the same place. That is the group rate. Meanwhile, under the group projects, I don't know if I've said this yet. I'm getting a little forgetful because this part of the year goes kind of strange and draggy and obsessive because I'm working on CFR. But last year, our own Pachki worked with a few people on Tunisian crochet. I'm not sure I'm understanding this properly, and Pachki, you should feel free to write me and correct me. But I somehow wasn't catching this. I don't know if I knew it and it fell off my radar or what. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to lure her back to do this, but it is a really nice add-on to the other things we're doing as a group. That is our classes, which have a lot of emphasis on granny squares and steeking and also a granny square bag. And the point is Tunisian would go really well with the whole granny square project. So our classes are mostly about steeking and knitting. And then we've got the potential for this Tunisian workshop and the group project of the granny square bag. And I feel like I'm exhausting you all by talking about the group projects all the time, so I'm probably not going to go into it again, except to say, remember, we're doing a lot of knitting in the classes. So the group projects are sort of things you can do on the fly to take with you as souvenirs from CFR. By the way, your reaction to this, very welcome. You can always get me over on the blog or in the group, on the information thread especially, on Ravelry. All right. So, what we're going to do is a few things, and it's in crochet. First of all, since we always do a mini skein exchange, I always want to do a mini skein project and put it out there for free for the group, and that would be the Abba's Sock Yarn Cow. We did it last year. We had a lot of satisfaction with it. So I'm just republishing that link. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And that takes a D as in dog hook. Meanwhile, I was contacted, as I think I've told you about 40 times, by our own Carmen down in the OC. And she was making the basic granny square bags last year. And she got excited when I made my own. Anyway, this led to, I have published the pattern for the free basic granny square pattern. I wrongfully attributed that, I think, to Yarnspirations, although I do believe they have a version of it. But this is actually from Purl Soho. That is the free basic granny square. The bag pattern is Yarnspiration. The square is Purl Soho, and I'm looking at it realizing that I don't have the bag pattern there yet. At any rate, we're hoping our Ariane's going to teach that. Carmen says that she asked her to, and she agreed. I haven't heard from Ariane, but I'm believing Carmen on this one. Sorry, Ariane, if you weren't planning on it. I'm just kind of putting you on the spot, aren't I? Yes. Fortunately, Ariane, I'm thinking, is a pretty forgiving soul. If that doesn't work out, that's okay. We'll find a way to make it happen. The idea is, in the show notes, you get the free basic granny square pattern, and that is from Purl Soho. And granny squares are really easy. It is not a one-night project to make one square. Once you learn how to do one, you can whiz out 4 of these really fast. And that's great because that'll mean if you do them in an evening, the next day you can be assembling. I'm just saying. At any rate, for the granny square, to make a 6-inch by 6-inch granny square, I use an eye hook. And you can experiment on that to see what you get. Meanwhile, because I have been woobling so much, I am perfectly happy to work with anybody to wooble. That takes a G hook, a 4.0 G, by the way. And of course, in the woobling, the basic penguin and the basic chick pattern are both free and easily downloaded from the internet. Meanwhile, what is on my hooks and needles? Well, I said last time that I think the mini wooble kits are actually a really good price, and they are. They're $5 to $7, and I bought a whole bunch of them on a spree I cannot remember why. I just did. So I've been doing them, and usually they take me one day, if that long. The only exception was the fox. The mini fox, like the big fox, that's a more complicated project, takes a little more time because despite its small size, it's a lot of parts. You know, there's ears and they have color changes, which I'm used to doing, but if you're new to the Woobles, it would be exciting. And there's a tummy patch and a snout and a tail and the embroidery for the eyes and the nose. However, most of the mini Woobles are easy one-day projects. So you can see I did a mini bunny. I did one in white, the typical bunny, but then also I bought the pastel kit because I just gave in. What do I want to tell you? And finally, I bought, among others, the lion, the mini lion, who should be a lion cub and should not have a mane. But really, are we going for authenticity here? No. So you can see today I was a little bit restless, so I did the mini lion. He also is simply the fox. If you're going to hack these and you don't buy the kit, let me tell you right now, the lion is just the fox, so is Lola, or Lola Loca as they now call her, but Lola the polar bear. That fox gets used a lot. So if you have the fox, while he takes some time to do, I mean the full-size Felix the fox here, you're going to get a lot of use out of that pattern, let me tell you. But at any rate, I did the mini lion, and of course he is the fox with a mane. The mane is just chaining. And it's just creative chaining with slip stitching, very smart. This is one of those tricks I don't have in my repertoire, so I do appreciate that the designer does this so well. In progress, the stash toss is at 25 in versus 47 out, but I needed to knit this week. Now, you may be thinking, why don't you just go finish Vestuary, Gemma? Yeah, why didn't I? Well, because I have to sit down with Vestuary and really think it through to remember where I am on the front. So I started doing socks. How could that have happened? Well, the fact that I have my bag of mini skeins for trading, for CFR, that's how it could happen. And as you can see, I was bored silly one day. My patients all kept canceling last Monday. We were in an enormous heat wave. I'll talk about that in a minute. And so I just sat there saying, I don't know what to do. So I started making socks, and I realized I had two 1.5 US needles in front of me, so I thought, what the heck? So I started striping my way down the socks. As you know, I do the whole leg in stripes. So I did 1-inch stripes. So I did 2 in ribbing, that is 2 stripes, and then the rest in stockinette. And you can see for the feet, I'm using a lovely hard-wearing Regia, and that allows me to use all my mini skeins with softer, less durable yarns for the legs. Because after all, these things are wildly striped, so really, who's going to care? I'm in love with these. They are insanely beautiful because I have this huge collection of minis. So those of you who want some minis at CFRX, you're going to get them because I got a whole big bag of them. By the way, at CFRX, we're not putting any size limit on the minis. Bring whatever minis you want to bring. As long as they're fingering, that is sock weight. Okay, so there you can see the board silly, and you can see I was, because on the first sock, I'm up to the foot, which is that bigger skein there of the blue Regia, which has a pattern all its own. It's very pretty. And on the second sock, I think at this point, I'm on the 6th out of 7 stripes, at which point I will just leave it on the needles until I finish the foot of the first sock. But I was having a blast with those, and yeah, they were filling my need to sit quietly and knit between patients. Also during lunch, because I don't really eat a lot of lunch. The Lakeside cardigan and Vestuary didn't get anywhere this week because I think in the back of my head I'm waiting to finish them on my week off over Labor Day. I want to really lay them out, pin them together, and do some thought there. Nothing in the Dizzy Blondes League, so let's get on to a strategy. It's rather nice to be moving this quickly through the episode, I must admit. I feel like I've been putting out episodes with very little content and a lot of talking, so hopefully this will go a little better. At any rate, in the strategy, well, there's a few things I want to mention. These are all kind of short and sweet things. This week, I was going to talk about thinking about renewable resources and what you need versus what all the advertisers want you to think you need. I was going to talk about that. But then we had a 10-day heat wave. Yes, that's right. The last time I was talking to you, it was from a 4-day heat wave, but it just kept going. And by going, I mean over 100 during the day and not below 70 at night. So it was pretty lousy, miserable here. And then there was last week, politically. I am not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. You guys all know my politics. I'm not going to touch it. But what this resulted in was everybody got depressed. I mean, my whole caseload, everybody I knew, I think the only one who withstood it was probably my son, because he's just that way. Bless him. You know, he's just really resilient. I got so tired of talking to people about, I don't know why I'm so down this week. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because your face is melting every time you walk outside. Maybe it's because your sunglasses have fused to the bridge of your nose from the heat. It was just awful. And, you know, we used to have these heat waves back in the day when I worked up in the Antelope Valley. The AV used to get these all the time, where it'd be 115 when I'd walk outside to go to lunch. I don't know why, but for a few years we haven't had it that bad, and now they're back. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is, for heaven's sake, drink electrolytes and water. Caffeine in water takes away from the power. Caffeine dehydrates you. So no, if you're drinking iced tea and it has caffeine in it, forget it. You're not rehydrating. If you're drinking iced coffee with caffeine, it's going to wake you up, but you're not rehydrating. When I say drink water, I mean water. I mean water, maybe herbal tea, but no chemicals and no sweeteners in it, because the chemicals also dehydrate you. If you are feeling low this week, remember there's a huge potential for it to be dehydration, and dehydration does drag down your mood. Gosh, Gemma, why would it do that? Are you kidding me? You're drying up. If that doesn't make you sad and depressed and unable to do anything, I don't know what will. The other thing here are the electrolytes. Worst case scenario, Gatorade. Yeah, it's got electrolytes. It's also got chemicals that I can't pronounce, and I'm pretty good at languages. Artificial stuff, who knows, served in plastic bottles. Hello, drinking microplastics. Least worse, Pedialyte. Pedialyte, plastic bottles, what do you want me to tell you? But Pedialyte, they say the plastic bottles have whatever special magic they do not to make them bleed plastic. I don't believe it. But Pedialyte at least tries not to have artificial ingredients. Both of these things, Gatorade and Pedialyte, they're relatively expensive. Having said that, they're also relatively available in a lot of dispensing machines. So, if you find a soda machine, you got a high chance of finding at least Gatorade in it. However, I'd still go for water. If you're going to drink microplastics, at least drink it with straight up water. Now, if you're really feeling badly, though, let's face it, water may not be enough. This is where I'm talking about the electrolyte drinks. There are a lot of other electrolyte drinks out there. There are powders that you can add, and you can consider carrying the powders with you. They come in little tiny packets that are easy to stick in your pocket. Again, I'm not thrilled about some of those artificial ingredients. I'm not thrilled about eating a processed food like that. Not that Gatorade's any better. It's just the same thing in water. But yeah, you can consider carrying those. And no, I do not know all the contents there. There may be some powders that are actually reasonably okay or not that loaded with artificial whatevers. I haven't done that research. I would watch out for the sweeteners in them. I would also watch out for caffeine in them. So then there's Ketorade, which I've given you the recipe for several times, including I think in the last episode, in either 191 or 190. Make your own at home, it's cheaper. The ingredients up front, particularly the new salt, that is the potassium chloride salt, may look a bit expensive, but they go on forever. I started using mine last year and still haven't run out of the original batch of ingredients. So personally, I'm a big fan of Ketorade. And if I can ever get myself past 3 miles, I'm probably going to start carrying a bit of it with me as I run. Yes, if you're outdoors and you're exercising, even if like me, you're doing it before the sun comes up, you carry water. Whether you're hiking, walking, biking, or in my case, pretending to jog, you carry water, okay? For me, if I'm walking more than 5 miles, I'm going to try to have some Ketorade. If I'm running more than 3 miles, I'm going to be serious about Ketorade. Also, don't forget, one of the big ones that we forget about, we think we can take it as a pill and we can't, magnesium. Don't forget those Epsom salt baths. Tepid water, just has to be your body temperature, doesn't have to be a hot bath, just enough to dissolve the Epsom salts. But that's a great way to get magnesium, comes in through your skin, which is how you're supposed to get magnesium and vitamin D. So please do that. Now, the politics. Yes, in my profession, mental health, behavioral treatment, we're gearing up for everybody to get freaked out over the politics. The exciting thing about that, if you're me, is it doesn't matter what party you're in. People from both parties have been hammering me this week about the politics. I cannot tell you how hard it is to resist the urge to talk more about it. However, the reality is it's a cyclic thing as long as, we don't stop having elections in America. Just saying. And you're just going to roll with it. You have power. Your power is your vote. The other power you have is your veto. Stop watching the things that are upsetting you. Spread the news about the things you think are true and can be validated or verified. Absolutely. Don't hear me saying be ignorant. I don't mean you should be ignorant. But I have to tell you that there are just channels I can't follow because I get so upset when I see what the people on them are doing and saying. And it is perfectly good to simply not watch those. I'm not telling you not to have an informed opinion. I'm telling you turn off the ranting. It isn't going to help you. So here in this political nightmare scenario that we're in here in America, you know what you're going to do. You know the news sources you trust. Follow them. Stop looking at the other people. You don't have to do that to know what they want. If you want to know their platform, that's going to be readily available. You don't have to keep watching people who are doing hate speech or ranting. You don't have to do that. It is going to disrupt you too much. Please remember your vote is powerful. Please remember there have been a lot of attempts to interfere with voters' rights because of exactly what I'm saying. Your vote is powerful. So get out there and use your vote. And every time you see or hear something that upsets you, you narrow your eyes and you say, ha ha ha, I'll be voting against that real soon. But you must use your vote. In the meantime, you have to keep breathing. We have to get on with our lives. No matter what kind of politics are still going on, you got to give some hay to the alpaca every morning, even if you're allergic to it. Where'd that come from? Oh, yeah. Anyway, that would be my situation. You just have to keep it going. Also, part of your self-maintenance in all this heat and ugly politics is about your basic physical health care. Eat properly. Sleep enough, move sufficiently, focus, practice meditation and self-calming exercises. Eat, sleep, move, focus. If ever there was a time where we need to observe the basic skills of emotional self-management, this is it. Eat, sleep, move, focus. Keep yourself healthy. Take care of yourself. Nothing gets better if you're loading up on sweet stuff because you're depressed. You'll just get fat and miserable. Nothing gets better if you don't move and exercise. You'll just get cramps and all sorts of unpleasantness. Nothing gets better if you don't sleep enough. Nothing gets better if you don't work on breathing, calming yourself, self-soothing. Everything will stay the same whether you're freaked out or you're not freaked out. Who do you want to be? That's what I want you to get. All right, enough of that. Shoot, pretty much I'm running now. I have not been cycling very much. And the running is going great. Where am I? I'm starting week 6. And one program is for a 5K and it's 8 weeks, and it gets ugly. At the end of week 6, they suddenly make you run like 18 minutes. Which I'm not really worried about. And I'm doing another one that is supposed to be a 10K, but actually seems to be a half marathon. It's mislabeled or something. But it's actually really, really nice. Of the 3 programs, that's the one I'm really enjoying. This is the one, if you're following me on Instagram, where I'm running like 3.5 minutes with a 30-second or 1-minute break, and then you run the 3.5 with the break like 10 times. I'm really enjoying that. And then there's my long run, which is the Extinct 10K program that I still have on my phone. And that's gotten quite long. I mean, that's 10 minutes and then a 1-minute break, maybe 10 minutes and a 30-second break. And you do that 4 times. And that's where you start feeling the long. And what I've learned this time around is I used to get really tense about those when I only used one program. Now that I'm using the 3 and integrating them, when I get to that, I think of it as my long run twice a week, which is what I normally did anyway when I was doing longer runs after I got all these programs done and was just running, like I think it was 3 miles a day, 5 miles on Wednesday. No, 3 miles on Monday, 5 miles on Wednesday, 3 miles on Friday, and then a longer run on Sunday, and usually a 3 miler or whatever I felt like doing on Saturday. But Sunday would be anything from like 5 to 10 miles. Okay, and that's what you do after you finish all these programs and you can run those distances. I'm nowhere near that. But now that I'm integrating the 3 programs, when I get to this one with the longer runs, what I finally have learned to do is just relax into them. Just not get tense, like the buzzer went off, I've got to run right away. Because there was a time where I had to use a bathroom break and the run timer started in the middle of it. That was awkward. And you know what I did? I left it alone. In other words, on the long runs, it's a long run. You're going to do it. Just ease off and take it slow and take it easy. The other thing that has happened this week, which I'm happy about, is I'm going faster. You won't see it in the times if you're following my numbers on Instagram. But I've realized that at certain points in the run, I go faster. That I'm actually getting used to it. I'm not intimidated, and I'm really booking on it. Remember, I started this Memorial Day weekend. So what are we in now? 6 weeks into it? It's been a wonderful 6 weeks. I feel stronger than I've ever felt as a runner, which I find very weird. And I'm attributing, frankly, to keto. But I don't know about that mushroom cocoa because I got so much energy when I started drinking that. So I don't know what to say there. At any rate, so that's where we are in shoot. And I'm going to week 6, and it's exciting now. Fluffy books. I've got the links for the new Dragon book from Maria Grace and the link for the pre-order for the new Flavia Albia. I am just finishing Love Takes Root, that series by Lynn Messina. Speaking of Lynn Messina, I just found out today there's a new Verity Lark, the 4th one, coming out. I think it's October 25th. I am sunk in a coordinated series with that. The B. Hyde Clare series, the Duchess of Kesgrave. And I'm on the book where she finally gets to meet Verity Lark. And it's everything you want it to be. I'm in the middle of that. That is called A Vicious Machination. It is everything you want it to be. The link is not in the show notes because you really need to read the whole series to get to this one. And, the Beatrice Hyde Clare books, I really have enjoyed. I think they're Lynn Messina at her best. I find it interesting. Like all Lynn Messina's characters, too much internal process at times where you go on for pages with what B is thinking, and then suddenly she says something and you're like, who's she talking to? What was this conversation again? That is the one weakness. It's a very minor thing. I really, really am enjoying these books. They have not much social value except they are empowered women in an era where I don't think women were very empowered, but I enjoy them. Something I really like. Have you noticed we have a theme of heat wave here? So I am showing you a picture of my very old Camelback. What do I really like? Hydration and ways to carry hydration that work. Back in my salad days, in my 30s, I bought a waist belt that you could put 2 standard water bottles in. Commercial water bottles. I carry them. The ones I'm using are from CFR 7, I think. Those are my water bottles. Well, I love that belt. It's big, it's clunky, it's solid, it rides firmly on your hips. What it really does, it lets you carry about 40 ounces of water. Most of the current water belts have much, much smaller hydration flasks. To me, that's a waste of time. So I have my big clunker and I love it. It is clipped together in one place because I can't find a way to sew it back together, and that's still working. I love that thing. So what do you do when you go on longer runs where you're out there for a long time, and if you want to reach your bottle on your waist belt, you're going to have to stop and reach around for it. Or you may not have to, but when you're drinking from it, you're probably going to have to stop. Otherwise, you're going to trip or fall. Or when you're putting the bottle back in your waist belt, you're going to have to stop. Well, at that point, we get to the hydration pack, and the leader of that group is CamelBak. They came out with the original probably 20 years ago now, and I've run with a CamelBak easily since 2003 when I was marathoning. I'm looking at my marathon pictures, and I seem to be wearing actually my standard water belt. I may not have gone to the CamelBak in 2003. That was March of 2003. When I did March, April, and May, I did my marathons. Oh, that was crazy, wasn't it? It's amazing. Don't do it. Marathoning. Don't do it. Really bad for your legs. And no human's really meant to do it. Okay, some people are just good at it, but most of us aren't going to be. Half marathons, on the other hand, are a great experience. Having said this, when I get to about 5 miles, I'm definitely using a CamelBak, a hydration backpack. Now, I actually don't use their running pack. I use their biking backpack. They push the running pack. I'm not really sure why. It's got a bladder on the back, and I'll come back to what that means. And then it's got pockets in the front for more water bottles. If you are a slow marathoner, you betcha. However, I got through my marathons carrying my 2 water bottles that were 20 ounces each on my old-fashioned waistband belt. Okay. Why? Because in marathons, a lot of people leave water out for you. They have water for you for most of the race. If you're me and you're real slow, you got to carry your own for, the last 10 miles. But that was enough for me. All right. But if I'm out in the outback, I want a hydration pack that has a bladder with a hose attachment that goes around over your shoulder, and you can simply bite on the attachment and then inhale. Okay, that's what a CamelBak gives you. That it has a bladder that you fill with water and a pipe running out of the bladder, and the pipe goes through a special slot in the backpack you can go over either shoulder. It goes over my right shoulder. There's another pass-through point on the right shoulder so you don't have this hose flapping around. And there's also a little clip you can clip it into. On the very end of the hose closest to me, there's a little do-jigger with a bitey thing. And what you do, you take, if you're me, your right hand, you put that in your mouth as you run, and you bite down and inhale. And you get water into your mouth. These things are a miracle. First of all, the bladder. If you want to, you can put ice in it. Also, in mine, there are little pockets around it, so you could also put any kind of frozen gel that not drinkable, just to keep your water cold. I've never felt the need, but I suppose you could do that. What I do instead is I put a few jars of water in my fridge at night, and then in the morning I pour them straight into the bladder, which is inside my pack. Yes, the bladder comes out of the pack. Yes, you can clean the bladder. They even give you a special brush, which you can reorder if you lose it, as I do every 2 months with mine. But the bladder can sit right in the pack, and you just can open it. It has a very, very wide mouth stopper on it that's very firm and secure. And you can just pour your water jars or your water bottles into it. So I put the water in the fridge overnight in jars, let it get cold, pour it into the bladder in the morning, and off I go. Now, my bladder is a 2-liter bladder. That sounds strange. I mean on my CamelBak kids, not my personal bladder. Okay, and I almost never fill it to 2 liters. 2 liters, I think, is about 70 ounces, something like that, 70, 72 ounces, somewhere in there. I don't carry that much. In case you are wondering, the reason I don't, 1 liter weighs a kilo. That is slightly over 2 pounds. about 2 pounds, 3 ounces. So 2 liters, I'm going to be carrying, if you're an American, about 4 pounds, 6 ounces. That's heavy. That's pretty heavy. So no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And 2 kilos for the rest of you who have a reasonable system of measurement in your country. Yeah, 2 kilos is heavy. However, you're carrying it on your back. And just like the waistband belt, carrying water on your body is best done either on your pelvic girdle on your hips or centered on your back and partway down, and you'll figure it out as you go. This is why I carry one of these. I have never in my life carried one of these and thought, wow, that's heavy. I wish I could take it off. In fact, generally I forget I'm even carrying it. Same for my waistband. But hydration packs, that's what I really like. My brand of choice is CamelBak. You can find them at camelback.com. There is no second C in CamelBak. It's camel, all one word, camel, B-A-K. But in the hot weather, if you're going out for any kind of exercise, even if you're going out in the gloaming at night, that is the evening light, or you're going out in the early morning before the sun is fully up, carry water. Please carry water. By the way, if you're taking any kind of road trip, carry water. If you're going to be out in the wilderness, which happens when you live in California, it's a big, empty, open state, carry water. But please, please keep yourself safe in the heat. Put a lid on it. I'd love to tell you about it, but basically I've spent my week not cooking. That is anything I can stick in the Instant Pot. The latest being the pork, what we call the pork chop suey, which is, I don't know what it really is. It's the pork and cabbage mix that we're fond of with, I think it's got soy sauce and sesame oil and rice vinegar in it in varying proportions. And I think I've given you the recipe, so I won't repeat it. But, doing that in the Instant Pot for a fast meal, doing the cracked chickens in slow motion overnight or all day long in my slow cooker. I'm doing anything I can not to heat up my kitchen. On to the blather. Our AC died. Oh, man. Of course, we started a new heat wave Friday afternoon. That would be yesterday, by the way. Today is Saturday, July 20th, and I'm recording this at 8:01 p.m., in case you wondered. Okay, so of course we started a new heat wave after a 3-day break into reasonable but not great temps. And so, of course, that was a signal for our air conditioning to die. I will say the beloved husband handled it really well. We all did. We just kind of looked at each other and I said, that's got to be maintenance. We haven't had it maintained. It breaks down once a year. And the hubs just got on it. We decided to point fans at ourselves last night, and we all slept really well, which was interesting. And the house was about 80 degrees, but we were all fine. And this morning my hubs got on it, and our wonderful guy from the local AC place, Penny's is the name of the AC place. This guy is great. He comes over. We see him every year. He's really charming. And he finally said it. He said, instead of calling me on a Saturday, why on earth don't you just call us in the beginning of November and we'll come over and do the maintenance on your heater, and then call us in the beginning of May and we'll come over and do the maintenance on your AC. So that's now on the calendar. So I was going to whine at you about how bad it was without air conditioning, but frankly, I think we went just under 24 hours and we're all fine, resulting in a slow and peaceful Saturday with me just staying home except to go get groceries. And why would I stay home? Well, in the proud mom department, the beloved son got interested in woobling. And I tried to teach him how to do a slip knot, and I was lousy at it. And I realized why, because I had forgotten what it's like to be a raw beginner. And I remember making the same mistakes and having the same problems he had. And for the life of me, all I could think of was, you'll get it with practice. Enter the woobles. I have enough of the kits that I put him on the videos. Now, just by dumb luck, I picked the videos for the donut. Do I even have the donut kit? I think somebody gave me that passcode, I think. Anyway, I put him on that, which was nice because the donut does not start with a magic circle, which is kind of challenging for a beginner. The donut starts with chaining. So this is a really good beginner project. I didn't think it was when I made mine, but watching him do it, I'm going, okay, that it teaches you chaining and it teaches you how to close the chain and then it teaches you single crochet. And I also found out he really needed the t-shirt yarn. Now I have a lot of the Woobles yarn, which is called Easy Peasy, but it's basically a t-shirt yarn. I have a lot of larger bits of that left. So he started with a lump of the blue yarn, and he got pretty far, and then he said, I need more yarn. This isn't going to make it. Now, I could have taught him how to start a new color, but I think we want to make this as easy as possible, because now that I'm this experienced, I know how to make it as easy as possible. So at this point, you're saying, so you bought him the donut kit. No. Actually, what we did was we bought him 2 skeins of t-shirt yarn. And I did a price comparison and went with the Woobles Easy Peasy yarn, because the idea is then he'll have some leftovers to experiment on and to learn with. And I have a big bag of leftover Wooble yarn here. It's probably going to become a snake, I think, just to use up the bits. So we'll have a project we can use it on. But you can see a picture of the beloved son. If you look really carefully, you will see, or probably you have to blow it up, that he's chaining quite successfully there with the blue yarn at our dining room table, and on his phone he's watching the videos. So I have said the Woobles videos are very good for beginners, and now I have proof. So his yarn comes tomorrow. That should be very exciting. I tried to start him on just regular acrylic, I don't know how many plies, 4 or 5 ply, and it was just really challenging for him, as it was for me. And, I remember when I learned to knit, my friend Carla gave me huge needles and huge yarn. I think crocheting, same thing. G-hook is not a huge hook, but t-shirt yarn is pretty hard to mess up with. And so he's doing much better now that he has it. The weight loss system, I think I'm down 27 or 28 pounds. Saw my doctor this week. I got rid of Dr. Melodrama, who was my last doctor, who kept going into hysterics and wouldn't help me, wouldn't re-prescribe my meds. By the way, that's illegal under the Federal Patients' Rights Act, I'm just saying. But she did a lot of illegal stuff, HIPAA violations, unbelievable. So we got rid of her because the last time she just threw a tantrum. I don't mean she yelled at me. I mean, she threw a tantrum. She went into hysteria. Yes, oh, please do what you're doing. Because I was not doing what she wanted me to do. So anyway, got on to a new doctor. We had a very nice, very pleasant, very upbeat, peaceful meeting. All my readings are normal. I'm doing very well. So that's been working really nicely. I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest takeaway, is I do need to stick to keto. That paleo is not going to work for me with diabetes. I really do have to stick to keto. If you don't have diabetes, I'm sure the paleo diet is a great option. The other thing I have to say is I know this doesn't work for everybody, so I don't want to drum it into your heads, keto this, you got to do keto, blah, blah, blah. Keto works for me. And she said that. She was a bit shocked, and she said, you look amazing. Your numbers are amazing. And of course, they're not allowed to talk about keto in my practice. They are forbidden. That is the practice policy. I'm pretty sure she knows what I'm doing. But anyway, she was very happy and it was very peaceful. So that's all good. And of course, my last doctor, well, I'm only going to see you once a year because you're not doing what I want you to do. So I'm not going to treat you basically, which is not really legal in my situation. I'm just going to say, because you see diabetics more frequently, you help them track their blood A1C. So this doctor, of course, is completely normal. Like, I'll see you in 4 months. And you bet. So we'll be seeing each other in November, right after I run my 10K, which I signed up for. You'll be hearing more about that. No loss there if I don't talk about it. Project cookbook, still transferring recipes, keto recipes from the internet to paper recipe cards. The pup date, well, today I can tell you we had the adventure this week of Captain and Queenie and the really scary neighbor. And you can see a picture of him. He's not that clear because I wasn't getting close to him because there's 3 foot of western rattlesnake there. And of course, it was right under my back door. If I'd opened the back door and walked out, I would have stepped on it, which is certainly going to make me think about opening the back door in the future. And he was pressed against the back door. On the other side of the back door, I found Minerva with her face pressed against the crack, inhaling deeply. So Minerva got her rattlesnake experience. This was a little bit sad because it was a heat wave, as I've mentioned. We had a 10-day heat wave in the backyard, in the middle of the backyard. We have a water trough for the dogs. We believe that's what he was going for. He was going around sunset, And when my husband found him, my husband was out playing with Queenie, who was out there with him for who knows how long. And she never noticed him. Thank God she's not rattlesnake trained. But Eleanor was rattlesnake trained, and it didn't take. In fact, Eleanor was very aggressive towards rattlesnakes, which some dogs are. So I was very worried that Queenie would be that same type because they're both collies. At any rate, Queenie never saw him. Thank God. I had a really rough evening checking her over, worrying that somehow she got bitten and I missed it. But my hubs was playing with her at the top end of the yard, looked down the hill, and saw the snake at our back door, heading for the trough. The snake, sadly, was really trying not to start trouble. He was pressed against the wall, straight line, complete not danger noodle, did not rattle at us even once. He was trying so hard just to get to the water and leave. He didn't want to interact, but we can't have rattlesnakes and dogs in that yard. The sad thing is this was a relatively peaceful snake because rattlesnakes have territories, so we ended up calling 911. The fire department just got rid of them, and I don't mean relocated them, kids. They were very efficient and quick about it and merciful, but I felt terrible about it because he really, if you're going to have a rattlesnake around, this is the one you want to have. So I was not happy about that, but we can't have them in the backyard because even if I could trust the rattlesnake, I can't trust Queenie, and Queenie is a working member of our farm. We're not going to do without her if we can help it. So sorry, Mr. Snake, I felt really bad about it. In the community resources, as always, we have the links to the books I've used, my favorite resources that I buy to support my knitting, and also various videos and books and whatnot, and websites about skills and techniques. On the calendar, you can find our local stitch groups, Yarnopoly, Second Saturday Stitchers. There's one more too. Naughty Knitters, I think, of the SCV. And then our Sit and Stitch group at one of our local libraries, and our SCV, Santa Clarita Valley Free Craft Exchange. They're all on Facebook, so no links, but you can see a little information about them. Meanwhile, I'm living for Labor Day because I have a long week off. I have, a week framed by 2 weekends, and I need it. I'm going to really need it. So I'm looking forward to that. Of course, I'm really looking forward to CFR 10 at the Courtyard by Marriott in Valencia on September 28th, 2024. And of course, on the 27th, I have that day off, so I'll be going up early. And anybody who wants to hang on the 27th, you bet, on the Friday, I will have the room for that night. And then, of course, Sunday morning, we will do the brunch where everybody can come and talk about what worked and what didn't work. Minerva gets the last word. Well, I have a picture at the very bottom is Minerva looking out of the study window, enjoying the view. And there you can see some of the view. That's from our front porch, looking in both directions. And you can see also we have a lot of baby bunnies this week. And there's one of the babies. And Minerva would like to tell you, please take deep breaths, stay calm, don't overheat, don't dehydrate, don't freak out from the politics. Try to stay calm and enjoy the view. And on that happy note, remember everybody, we are a community. When we take care of the community, we are caring for ourselves. So with that idea in mind, please, everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.